Happy Saturday. Welcome into the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles, thank you for tuning in, making us a part of your weekend. Alex, just a few more shows left before we get into college football season. We were talking about it before the show. September 5th is the day, so we have 2 normal Saturday shows after this one.
There you go.
And then we'll be doing College Football Saturday.
Oh, so exciting, man. So excited. I'm ready to see BYU take on the field in a season that I think has incredible expectations from the fan base and from us as media members. And then, of course, you have Utah. And how does that first year look under Morgan Scalley? It'll be nice to finally be finished speculating how the season's going to go and finally be able to see the product on the field and be able to see how the team responds on the field. And, they got some good they have some FCS tests coming out of the gate. But I think, more so for BYU's case, they're going to be tested early against Arizona, and then Utah will have a little ramp up to their schedule.
Yeah, it's like light at the end of the tunnle. You're walking through the desert. You can see the oasis. All the metaphors you want to use. We're coming up so close.
So close.
But it's been a really fun week. I mean, it started off with drama over the weekend, and I mean, this is where we've got to start, right? Monday morning, you wake up, and there's rumors that Brian Santiago was fired over the weekend, and then BYU had to come out onto Cougar Board and clarify that Brian Santiago was not fired.
Yeah.
And, of course, this is just the first part of the story that unraveled, and we'll get into the rest of it later, but we had Mitch on all of the shows this week, and Mitch was like, yeah, the fact that BYU had an official SID or whatever come out onto the Cougar Board and actually make a statement was something that nobody ever thought would happen.
Yeah, it's not something you commonly see. And national media picked it up pretty quickly. It became a national story with some of the national beat writers picking it up and being like, wow, this is the first time I've ever seen, an athletic department have to step up the way that BYU did on the the craziness that is Cougar Board. But yeah, that was the rumor floating around this weekend, that Santiago had been fired. They have to come out and put an end to it. And I thought, maybe not the way that I would have thought you would have approached a situation like that. Like if you really wanted to dispel the rumors and put them away that quickly, I thought you could send out a press release, make it just a quick, easy one, say, hey, this isn't true, dispel the rumors. But instead, you go on to you make an official count on the Cougar Board and you have to dispel the rumors there.
Dude, screw a press release. Like, all you have to do is just put a video of Brian Santiago.
Send a tweet out.
Literally, send a tweet out of Brian Santiago holding the thumbs up or like the peace sign or whatever.
Yeah, it's 2026. Yeah. Put out a picture on Twitter. Put out a post on Instagram. Whatever. I thought the approach was interesting here for BYU to try to dispel these rumors. To actually join the Cougar Board was interesting.
Yeah, that seems a little. I don't know if desperate's the right word, but that's all I can think of right now off the top of my head. I don't know, I shouldn't go that far, but it on the other hand, it does send a message like, hey, we're here and we see what's going on.
Yes.
Everybody knows that They see what goes on Cougar Board. Not that what goes on Cougar Board or any of these other online forums, not that actually matters.
Right.
But it is kind of a funny way for BYU to kind of announce their presence and say, hey, we're lurking in the shadows, and we do see the ridiculousness that comes out on here.
Yeah.
But when it comes to as crazy of a rumor as firing the athletic director, they did feel like they had to come out and clear things up. So I don't know that we'll ever know what happened over the weekend that led to that rumor. But of course, as I mentioned, that was just the first part of the story. And then, some comments that Kalani Sitake made during the BYU golf tournament, those resurfaced.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it's turned into a week-long drama session of Kalani Sitake versus the BYU athletic department. I don't know if you want to go as far as saying Kalani Sitake versus Brian Santiago head-to-head, but long story short, BYU's head football coach is upset that he doesn't feel like, promises were kept. Promises that were made to him as far as keeping him in Provo. He had all but accepted the Penn State job. And last second, BYU made a bunch of promises to him to lead to him to staying with the Cougars. and now it sounds like those promises have not been kept. And promises is like, that's a vague term, and we really don't know. And Kalani's not going to come out and say exactly what that means, but it does. We do know it goes beyond just NIL budget.
Yes,
we know it's not really that Kalani's talking about. It's other things, maybe resources as far as how it can help with him and his recruiting job, or resources for the actual team. We won't really know what that means, but
yeah. Well, I mean,
he's
even
upset.
even go back to the comments that he said after, right, heading into the Big 12 championship, when all this was happening. Go back to early December, and I remember in the press conferences he was asked about the Penn State situation. Right, that was a big topic leading into that championship game, because it happened to the news happened to break that weekend right before, or maybe the Sunday right before, but. He was asked about it in the press conference and about him ultimately making that U-turn, deciding to stay with BYU. And one of the things that he brought up was the promises of taking care of his staff, the promises of taking care of, the resources to make sure that BYU could be competitive. And so I think, if the promises that Kalani Sitake was made or was told when he decided to make that U-turn, come back and stay at BYU, and those promises now, today up to this point are being kept, he has every right to be upset. Absolutely. You can hear the frustrations in his voice in that clip you're talking about with the golf tournament. You can hear the frustrations in his voice when he was asked about it again at media availability this week.
And you know what? Let's actually go ahead and play that so we can get some more context to this conversation, because there is all the background info again from the BYU golf tournament and the interview that he had with Ben Criddle there that surfaced online. But then, as you mentioned, he did speak at Picture Day this week at BYU camp. So let's go ahead and play that quick clip here.
Kalani, at the golf tournament, you talked a lot about just pushing for resources and getting BYU to the best place that you wanted it to be. Just as you entered the season, how do you feel about the resources that you have, just from NIL to facilities to recruiting budgets and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, my agent's going to handle all that stuff, so I'm going to focus on this year's team, and as long as I'm the head coach here at BYU, I'm going to always fight like crazy to get this place so that it can be a premier program. I feel like the players deserve that, and the coaches and staff deserve it, and most of all, Cougar Nation deserves it. So that's what I'm going to try to do.
Will Mark Hill work directly with this football program and you directly?
I don't know all the responsibilities that are going to be happening from our department, what our administration has decided.
Kalani, how is your relationship with Brian Santiago right now?
Yeah, I'm easy to. How's my relationship with everybody? I'm easy to get along with, as long as you just take care of our football team and take care of the boys. The focus has got to be on the players. So the focus shouldn't be on my relationship with anybody other than my relationship with these players and being their leader. And the great thing is we have amazing leadership on the team, so I don't have to do much. I mean, they make my job a lot easier. I just got to make sure we can avoid all the distractions, so that's my job. I'm trying to make sure these guys get all the attention, because the attention needs to be on them going into the season, So I've made comments and talked about things in the past. But once the season starts, I'm all about the boys and all about what the fans expect. And so we're trying to meet all our fans' expectations, and that's what I'm working on right now.
You said your agent is going to be talking. Is there active conversations happening now, or is that something?
Yeah, you get a hold of my agent. You guys figure it out.
There you go. That is BYU head coach Kalani Sitake. Ton to take away there. One of my favorite parts, he's asked about his relationship with Brian Santiago, and his answer, I'm easy to get along with.
Yes.
I'm easy to get along with.
You know what? Like, he'll never hear a coach come in and bag on their athletic director. You'll never hear a coach.
Ideally.
Right? You never really hear it. But if you take some context clues and if you take some of what he's saying, like, there's some frustration there. Absolutely.
Oh, of course.
And you can, again, like we mentioned it before, like, you can hear it in his voice. You can hear some of the way that he phrased his comments. I feel like were very deliberate, as in, my agent's going to handle that stuff, and I'm easy to get along with. And just some of those smaller comments that you could brush over at first glance, but then when you really think about it, you're like, oh, he actually he says a lot here.
I'm totally gonna read into all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Dude. your relationship with Brian Santiago, and Kalani says I'm easy to get along with. He's essentially saying Brian's not easy to get along with. That's how I'm reading it.
Yeah.
And of course, maybe that's
fair assessment. No, it's fair assessment.
maybe that's looking into it too much. But that's the vibe I get with all of this drama going on. So that is, basically as passive-aggressive as you're going to see from Kalani Sitake. And that's honestly how he handles his frustration when he gets to this point. And it's not something that we see a lot. And he's a very level-headed dude, and he's always looking out for his team first. And that's a big part of this, right? We talk about the resources that Kalani wants, and it's not just for him. It's not... maybe he is asking for a private jet to go help with recruiting, but that's not the only thing that he's asking for. We know that at the end of the day, he has BYU football's best interest in mind, and that's what this is for.
Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to bring up was PK's article that he brought up. PK put an article out earlier this week on KSL.com. There was a sentence in here I wanted to get to. PK mentions that the belief is BYU basketball had a $10 million roster last year. And that was twice as much as BYU's football roster.
Wow.
And that's, again, another area where Kalani might be a little frustrated. I said earlier that NIL isn't really part of the frustration. It's not the main focus, but when you have all the talk about you're paying AJ DeBonsa $7 million, whether or not that's true. And then the next year you bring in Bruce Branch, a projected lottery pick, a 5-star recruit. Where's BYU football's money? Where is that coming from? So there's a lot of levels to unfold in this. And, you look at this situation, and it's very understandable why Kalani Sitake is upset.
Yeah. I think ultimately, when talking about the money distributed to each program and talking about the rosters to each program, I think ultimately the football is the moneymaker. The football is it's what's going to drive us as media. It's going to drive our talking points. It's going to drive fan interest. It's going to drive it's going to drive your athletic department. And so if one of the promises that Kalani was talking about and was talked about back when he decided not to take that Penn State job, if one of the promises was that there would be significant more investment into the football program and that's not being met, again, absolutely valid for him to be frustrated, because one of the reasons why he stayed was because he was promised one thing, but actions speak louder than words.
Right.
And this whole conversation between BYU basketball versus BYU football, I've seen some of the discourse online so far. It's some of the fans are being pitted against each other, right? Some fans who really like BYU basketball over BYU football, or vice versa, and they're their own fan base is kind of going after each other. Well, football deserves more money. Oh, well, basketball deserves more money, and it's crazy that we've gone to this point now where the fans are being pitted. It feels like the fans are a little pitted against each other, and football should get more, basketball should get more.
And there are so many different ways to take this conversation, as far as that's the problem that the Protect College Sports Act is trying to fix, because there's no such thing as an unlimited budget for any school.
Right.
Whether that's Ohio State, whether that's Texas Tech, whether that's BYU. All of these institutions, the ones I mentioned, of course, are examples of high-paying schools, schools that are willing to pay a lot for their athletic rosters and budgets and all that. But the money runs out eventually.
Yes.
And
donor fatigue is a real thing.
Donor fatigue is a real thing. And it's got to lead somewhere. And if you're BYU, basketball made it to the Sweet 16, and then they didn't repeat that success the year after.
Right.
BYU football still has not made the college football playoff.
Right.
So if you are not maximizing right now, when it does seem like your budget is unlimited, eventually, like you're saying, those donors are going to stop writing the checks. And so it's almost better in a sense to pick one sport and stick to it instead of trying to be really good at both. Pick one and be elite at it. If you can guarantee a college football playoff berth by sacrificing some of the funds you're spending on basketball, then do it. If you can guarantee a Final Four appearance or a national championship appearance in the March Madness tournament by cutting some of your football funds, then do it. But you're not going to do both.
That's a big gamble.
It is a big gamble.
That's a big gamble.
It is a big gamble.
I think it's trying to put your eggs all into one basket. That's a massive gamble, and I think for BYU right now that they have, you're absolutely right. Right now that it seems like they have the resources to be competitive in both. Like, you have to capitalize on that. You have to take advantage of that opportunity, because maybe you do get to a point where you have to pick one over the other.
Right. But even so, like you're saying, competitive in both, and big picture competitive, they really they've been an okay basketball team the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Again, they reached the Sweet 16 and that's it.
Yep.
Football, they haven't made the college football playoff.
No.
And that is the big thing. And that is one of the goals. That is the next step. They made the Big 12 championship and they lost it.
Yep.
So it's not like they are one of these elite college football programs in the country, right? They're towards the top of the Big 12, and that's great, but big picture, how much does that matter? I don't know. So that's one whole side of the argument, right? Like, you're going to run out of money soon because this is getting out of hand. But the other thing that I think matters here especially is Kalani Sitake was offered a job in December at one of the football schools in this country. And as much as BYU fans would like to hope that maybe eventually their program can be on the map, Penn State is like a top 10, top 15 job in the entire country.
Yes. If
Penn State wins 10 games, they're in the playoff every year. BYU has to basically go undefeated to make the college football playoff. And that shows the difference between those two schools. Kalani was ready to accept the Penn State job. BYU's, I don't know if it was the donors or the athletic department, the Crumble guy, whoever, somebody talked him into backing out of that job and gave him promises.
Yes.
And those promises have not been met. And so that's why Kalani is upset. If you were offered a job opportunity, a job change, and it was going to give you crazy benefits, higher pay than what you're receiving right now, better everything, it'd be a no-brainer to accept it.
And he didn't.
But then you go to accept it, and your current employer says, "Hey, we'll match all of those.
Yes,
just stay."
And they
and then you stay, and they don't end up. Of course, anybody would be upset at that.
Right.
So I don't know who or what is barring those promises from being made, being upheld, whether that is Brian Santiago or somebody else in the athletic department. But it's clear that there's friction, and it's coming at the worst time, right before the college football season starts. You've got a head-to-head between your athletic director and your head football coach.
In a season where you probably the highest expectations that I've seen on BYU football
ever
in my lifetime, for sure.
They're saying this is the best roster Kalani's ever had.
Yes.
And, that's including the Taysom Hill and Jamal Williams years and all of those teams that we saw, Zach Wilson's teams. Like, they're saying this is the best roster Kalani has ever had at BYU football. And what's going to derail their season? Not injuries, not lack of talent, not disappointing talent. It's you've got a conflict between your head coach and your athletic director, stuff behind the scenes.
Yes. And I think that this will continue more will continue to come out from all this. More will continue to be said about all this until the season starts. And then once the season starts, we'll see if this continues to be, a talking point. We'll continue to see if this continues to be an issue. But I think until BYU takes the fields, probably even until that Arizona game, this is going to be on the forefront of everybody's minds, right? Everybody's going to be talking about, I'm sure Kalani's going to get asked about it more, and who knows what else will shake loose. But this is, you don't want this type of drama. You don't want this type of, it's reported friction between your head coach and your AD on the eve of what's supposed to be an incredible season for BYU. because I think things like this culturally, I don't think Kalani Sitake would ever allow it to get to that point. But there's, situations like this have derailed seasons in the past and have derailed teams in the past. And so I hope, I trust Kalani, and I don't think Kalani will ever allow it to get to that point. But it's going to be something to keep an eye on as we get closer and closer to the season and see what else shakes loose.
Who do you think this situation puts more pressure on? Kalani
Santiago.
You think it puts more pressure on Brian Santiago?
I think it puts more pressure on the AD.
Okay.
Mostly
to do what?
To fulfill on the promises, right? Because if, let's say, again, hypothetically, this season goes according to plan and everything, ends up shaking up the way that BYU wants it to go, and they end up making a college football playoff appearance, who knows what jobs become available this offseason, right? Who knows if another Big Ten opportunity arrives at the doorstep of Kalani Sitake, and this time, as you try to retain your head coach because of the relationship and because of empty promises that were kept last time, what's to say he's not going to leave again, this next time, this next time coming up. Hypothetically, again, right? Let's say there's a massive Big Ten job that opens up this offseason. They go after Kalani Sitake. What's going to stop them if the relationship is strained? And I think ultimately that's going to come down, right? That fan blowback, that fan negative reaction is going to come back to the athletic director because of everything that's happened this last week.
Imagine a year from now, August 15th, 2027. Big Wit and Kalani are both coaching in the Big Ten instead of the Big 12.
That'd be absolutely wild. But it's possible.
A possibility.
It's a possibility.
It definitely is.
You never know.
And again, going back to PK's article, that was another thing that he wrote. Let's see. I'm trying to find the exact quote, but he writes that Brian Santiago was prepared to let Kalani walk and have Jay Hill take over BYU football.
Yes, that is. What I'd heard. That is what what everybody was talking about before that championship game, and what everything at the some of the reporting that came out right before that, it was that they were prepared to have Jay Hill take over as the head coach.
So then obviously that puts them that already makes it an awkward relationship, because Kalani comes back and he essentially says to Brian, like, hey, you had my backup plan ready to go. Like, I'm still here, baby.
Yep.
In fact, the backup is the one who left.
Right. Right.
So that is, Kalani's always going to be looking over his shoulder as long as Brian Santiago is the athletic director, in part because these athletic directors like to have their own guys as their head coaches.
This is true.
Brian Santiago didn't hire Kalani Sitake. And I'm not saying that, maybe they do get along, maybe they don't, but the fact is that Kalani is not Brian's guy.
Yeah.
Kevin Young is Brian's guy.
Yep.
Because Brian was over the basketball department at the time. That's his guy on the basketball side. He doesn't have his own guy on the football side. So as long as Kalani is at BYU and Brian Santiago is the athletic director at BYU, it does feel like Kalani's going to have to be constantly, shoulder checking and like,
which is
the AD out to get me? And I don't know. That's how long can you go with that relationship?
Massively unfortunate if that's the case,
Unless the hatchet is buried, unless Brian Santiago gives Kalani what he wants, and we don't know what he's asking for. But if Santiago fulfills those promises and Kalani feels satisfied, are we ever going to know how Brian Santiago feels about Kalani truthfully? Like, does he feel like Kalani is the guy?
Yeah.
And maybe Kalani Sitake wins the Big 12 championship and wins a game in the college football playoff, and Santiago's like, okay, this is the guy for BYU football. And maybe that's what settles it, because winning cures everything.
Yeah. I sit from a position where I look at it and I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is a coach who's gotten you back-to-back massive seasons, has gotten you in a conversation where you can potentially make it into a college football playoff, got to the Big 12 championship last season. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I know you want your guy. I know that you want somebody that you've hired and put into that position to kind of put in your feather in your hat as the athletic director. But if it ain't broke, there's no reason to even be hashing it out with Kalani.
Don't make a move just to make a move.
Exactly.
Especially with a guy like Kalani. I mean, Lavelle Edwards is
a guy
an
who
all-time
is
great.
Right. A guy who has now become the face of BYU football. A guy who embodies everything that BYU football is.
Kalani really has a chance to become the greatest football coach in BYU's history, and that is really, really saying something.
Right.
But you're right. Why would you move on from that prematurely?
Yes.
So that puts a whole lot of pressure on BYU football this season, because if they fall short of their expectations, I don't think Brian would go as far as firing Kalani Sitake, but it's clear that there is a chasm in that relationship there, whether or not they're going to admit it.
Yeah.
Kalani's going to play nice to the media and to the public.
Yeah, he's easy to go along with.
And honestly, so is Brian Santiago. Kalani is really easy to go. He's the easy one.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. But behind the scenes, man, again, I think this dials up the pressure to 12.
Yes.
And it just made this BYU football season a hell of a lot more interesting, even more so than it was last week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, if the season doesn't meet the expectations that you wanted it to meet, well, I'm curious to see what the fallout of all that is. If that's not the case, right? If BYU doesn't get to where they want to get to go,
heads might roll.
What would be the fallout of that situation?
Yeah.
So, you're absolutely right. The pressure because of everything that's happened this past week, the pressure has taken a different leap, taken a different step.
Yeah.
And everybody will be watching closely about Brian Santiago and Kalani Sitake for sure.
Let's take a break. Coming up next on the other side, got to hear from some different voices this week as part of media availability during fall camp. We heard from offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick and everybody's favorite defensive tackle Keanu Tanavasa. We'll let you hear from both of them coming up next. It's the Saturday Show. See you on the other side, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back into the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles, thank you for making us a part of your weekend. Bit of a rainy weekend. It's weird getting rain in the middle of August, but
you know what, though? I love it.
Do you?
It's a nice change from the 102, 103, however hot it was. It's a nice little change, and I'm a big fan of the rain. And I'm a big fan of the Pacific Northwest vibes, right? Where it's a little cloudy, It's rainy, and mossy outside. I'm a big fan of those vibes, and so whenever we get rain here, I absolutely love it.
In case you're just catching us, last segment we spent some time talking about Kalani Sitake versus Brian Santiago and some of the behind-the-scenes drama that appears to be unfolding with BYU's athletic department and what that is looking like and how that could potentially affect BYU's season coming up here quick. So if you missed that, go and find it. We're going to have that up on our podcast page. You can check it out, ksl.com/podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Great conversation there. But it is fall camp time season that is underway. We love to hear from some of our favorite voices within the team. Let's start with this one. We're going to go with BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick. Here's what he had to say earlier in the week during fall camp.
Week 2, how you feeling?
Good. Off to a good start. We're only can't draw too many conclusions yet, but we have a good team, and I like what we're doing out here.
As you look at your offensive line, there's obviously a bit of a shuffle, but you have some mainstays like Bruce back. How much does that help to have veteran guys that can obviously just step in and play right away?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest strength of our whole offense right now is just a lot of guys that have played a lot of snaps in big games and guys that know what they're doing. We're farther along than we've ever been in terms of knowing the offense, and it always starts with the line. Those guys they have a lot of information to process every play, and so those veteran guys are really critical to our success.
For being a relatively young room, just when I talk about returning reps, it feels like the wide receiver room could also be deep at the same time. Does that make sense? How do you feel about that group?
Yeah, I like those guys, man. They're playing good football out here, and they're a good group. People haven't seen them do it on game day yet, but I'm really confident in those guys, and I like what they're doing so far.
How would you say the connections are going so far between the quarterback position and the outside guys, the wideouts?
Good so far. Yeah, we're only 5 practices in. We need to keep keep developing that chemistry. It takes time. It's just every single rep adds up, and when you get to the games, you want it to be the 1,000th time that they've thrown this ball, in this situation when you're calling that play on third down. Hopefully you've banked 1,000 reps at it, and so that's what we're trying to accomplish out here, and we're making progress.
At tight end, if Roger and Walker were, say, 2 of your top guys, how good is that collection of tight end talent based on what you've coached here yet?
Really good. This is the best tight end group we've had since I've been here as a group, and Roger and Walker are 2 of our best players, and they will play in the game together a lot. Those guys are a big part of what we're doing. Thanks.
You said a couple of times last year that the whole playbook was open to Bear.
Yeah.
How do you enhance that this year as he becomes a sophomore?
Yeah, he knows it even better now. I mean, he's a really smart kid. Almost every play, he has multiple options to get us into the best play possible. We give him parameters, but he's a smart dude, and he has smart players around him too. That's one of our strengths here is we have smart kids, and so we're a team that's gonna try to get in the best play we can every snap.
Will it feel like it's opened up maybe a little more for him this year as a sophomore?
Yeah, I mean, I think he feels it. I don't know if everybody else will notice it, but I think he definitely feels it. And sometimes him getting us into the right play, it might be a boring 3-yard run play, but maybe the first play we had would have been a sack, and so he gets us into a 3-yard gain that everyone in the stands would never notice, but it's actually he just did a really good thing for us to get us to that next play. And so there's a lot of things like that going on out here where he's really given us a chance to, I think, be more explosive this year.
What about Sione Moa? Just having him back, what options does he give you?
Well, he's a really good player. Sione, like LJ, is a good runner. He's a good blocker, and he's a very good receiver. And Sione is a super athlete. He's one of the best athletes on our team, and he's had some bad luck staying healthy. But if he's healthy and he can stay healthy, he'll be a big part of our offense.
Coach, you've been in OC now for a while. You might be even a veteran, people would say. What's your favorite part of coming out here every day, spending all that time working? What's your favorite part of being an OC here at BYU?
I enjoy watching the players improve, watching players develop. And with that development, I like seeing our offense develop, where you install some concept or some scheme. You teach it to the players, you show them film, then they drill it in practice, and we work it as a team, and you see that process of refining your schemes and getting better at them. And while that's happening, you see individual players develop and get better. I mean, that's the most gratifying part for me, is just seeing those guys improve and the enjoyment they get out of playing the game. It's fun to be around those guys.
Like you said, it's only 5 practices in, but as of now, what excites you the most about this offense? What do you think the fans are going to be most excited to see?
Well, I just think that you're going to see a team that's tough, that plays really hard, and we got a lot of weapons, and I think we're a team that can win any type of game. We want to be the type of offense that can win any type of game anyway. We have to win it. If we have to run the ball and grind it out in bad weather or something like that, we feel like we can do that. If we need to come from behind and throw the ball around then we feel like we can do that too. We want to be a balanced team, but I think what people are going to enjoy seeing is just that we're going to be a really tough, hard-nosed team that's going to play really, really hard and play with a lot of energy and a lot of passion.
A couple of seasons ago, you had made a comment that, kind of looking back on the year, that maybe in the grand scheme of things, you maybe had added too many new players to the mix, and it took a little bit longer to get everybody on the same page. Mm-hmm. When you look back on that, how much do you think that realization has helped you guys over the last couple of years as you navigated the off seasons and bringing in personnel for the upcoming years?
Yeah, well, first of all, we've lost fewer players to the portal than most programs do, and so I think that's been one of our strengths, is we've had a lot of continuity with players staying in the program, returning, and then we just fill in, we plug a hole here and there with a transfer portal guy or whatever. I think when you're in a situation like we were our first year in the Big 12, where we had to bring in quite a few transfers, then your execution's probably going to suffer a little bit, just because it takes time to get that continuity. So we've been very successful with transfers here. Most of the transfers we brought in have been really good for us. We just want to retain our team every year, and then just a guy here, a guy there. That way we can keep our execution at a high level.
When players come back to camp, what's one thing that really impresses you when they get here, and then maybe one thing that when they come back, maybe a player that frustrates you, maybe?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Nowadays, it's not really they come back. I mean, they're here all summer. We've been around these guys all summer, and there really isn't. It's not like the old days where, hey, see you next fall at the end of spring ball. They've been here all summer working, and our team's in really good shape. I've been impressed with how much work they put in, and we've been able to be around them a lot. The rules are different now than they used to be. So, it's just a different situation now.
There you go. That's BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick. And, I mean, he's got a lot of fun toys coming back, right? You've got your starting quarterback returning. You've got the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year returning in LJ Martin. Outside of that, you got some questions in the skill group.
Yes.
Right? Lyons is going to be a good tight end, and hopefully BYU utilizes their tight ends a little more this year. I think Carson Ryan was a little underutilized last year, but the receiver room, question marks everywhere.
Yes. I think the good news for BYU offensively, right, is you do have Bear Bachmeier coming back for year 2. Now he's gone through a full preseason, whereas last year he came in after
spring ball. That's right.
Spring ball because of the spring transfer portal and the whole situation that happened with the former quarterback. And then so I'm curious to see what steps and what his evolution look like after a full off season of being in Aaron Roderick's system and of working alongside Aaron Roderick. Obviously, you know what you're going to get out of LJ Martin. Curious to see what the depth looks like behind him. You return basically essentially a large majority of your offensive line. Like, there is a lot of experience, a lot of leadership on that offensive line, and I think that's massive, and I think that can help make up a little bit for the question marks that you have at the skilled positions, right? When you have that offensive line and you can rely heavily on an LJ Martin, I feel like that helps that headache a little bit of trying to of figuring things out offensively. But I have no doubt that there are some offensive weapons and offensive guys in that skilled position who can step up, specifically looking at the tight end room. Carson Ryan had a massive breakout season last year. The connection that he had with Bear Bachmeier was really fun to watch. And now you have two guys that I think can come in and fill in that role versus last year where it was Carson Ryan and then there wasn't really, there was question marks on the depth behind there. Now you have two transfers coming in. You mentioned Lyons. There's also Roger, who I think are poised to have a big year.
We did the BYU pre- and post-game shows last year.
Yes.
And and I think you were on board too, obviously, kind of the unpopular opinion that A-Rod gets a lot of unneeded hate.
Yes.
A-Rod is like one of the most hated coaches in the state. I like it. I think he's a heck of a coordinator. I think he really did a great job with Bear last season.
Absolutely.
And especially you look at the way that they kind of slow played the offense. First game, Bear barely threw the ball.
Yes.
Right? But then by mid-season, it really did feel like they were comfortable with Bear running a lot of the offense. Now you're getting to the point where, okay, the whole playbook is there for Bear.
Yeah.
But a lot of that has to do with A-Rod and his ability to develop Bachmeier as a quarterback. And, we've seen weapons emerge every single year, whether it was Chase Roberts 2 years ago. Last year, Parker Kingston really broke out in a way that nobody was expecting. So because of that pattern, you see somebody break out every year. That's what makes me feel comfortable about this BYU receiver room. Mm-hmm. And last week I did have a lot of questions about that, but the more I think about it, A-Rod and a lot of these other offensive coaches, they know what they're doing because they do it every year. Yes. And again, it's a pattern that shows up, and that pattern is going to hold. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head there, man. I think whenever BYU, can't move the ball offensively, or like you saw in those Texas Tech games last year, everybody's quick to blame Aaron Roderick. Everybody's quick to go after the coordinator. But the reality is, like, over his time at BYU, I think that offense has just gotten better and better. And he's done a really good job of developing quarterbacks.
Yes. You look at all the quarterbacks that have come through BYU the last few years.
There's plenty of guys who've made the jump to the NFL level. There's plenty of guys, there's plenty of guys who, I mean, even the questions coming up about Jake Retzlaff and him coming from the JUCO level, moving up, and then kind of taking over for Keaton Slovis late in the season. And, heading into that season after BYU finished with 5 wins or whatever it was, there was a lot of questions about the quarterback position and Jake Retzlaff and what he was going to do. But then Jake Retzlaff has a tremendous season before things played out the way that they did, right? And so the development of the quarterbacks, I think, alone are a massive feather in the cap of Aaron Roderick. Yeah. And I know, people are quick to blame him when the offense isn't moving the ball, but, I think that he's absolutely earned his flowers as the offensive coordinator at BYU, because that offense has just taken massive steps to, I think, from where it was during the later years of independence.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is BYU's offense has the firepower to keep up with anybody else in the Big 12, right?
I would absolutely agree.
We were going to play Keanu Tanavasa here, but we kind of ran out of time. We were up against it break-wise. So that is posted on our BYU podcast page, wherever you get your podcasts. Again, just search Brigham Young University Sound. You can go hear what Keanu Tanavasa had to say. Maybe we'll get to that next week. We'll see. But you're going to hear from him a lot this season. So coming up next, we got to get to technical fouls. I had a big one that really has been making me mad, Alex.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I really got to, I've got some stuff to say, man.
I'm excited, man. Let's do it.
Let's do technical fouls next. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back into the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles, taking you through another week in sports. Alex, it is time for technical fouls, one of our fun segments that we do every week. It's always a fun show, don't get me wrong, but this is like, a little bit of left turn.
This is our opportunity to poke a little fun and have a little fun at some of these sillier or maybe even dumber headlines in sports of the week. So always look forward to technical fouls.
Okay, I've got 2 this week.
Okay.
And I'll start with this one. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to read you a series of tweets, and you are going to guess where this person went to college based off of the tweets that I read you.
I gotcha.
Okay?
Yeah, I gotcha.
All right, August 11th. What was that, Monday, Tuesday? I don't remember, whatever. Adam Schefter tweets, ESPN sources, the Minnesota Vikings have named Kyler Murray their starting quarterback. So that's his initial, news-breaking tweet.
Yes.
And then he follows it up with some more additional information. J.J. McCarthy missed his entire rookie season due to injury and started just 10 games last year, with Minnesota winning 6 of them. Now, the still only 23-year-old will be forced to be a backup.
Okay.
First off, how does that read? Does that read like an unbiased insider?
Not necessarily. No.
Does it sound like he's making excuses for J.J. McCarthy?
Yeah, a little bit. And then you obviously put your emphasis on forced, which it's I wouldn't go as far as to call it forced.
You lost the starting job.
You lost the starting job. It's as simple as that.
I've never seen him tweet like this about any other quarterback battle.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
J.J. McCarthy notoriously went to
the University of Michigan. Won a national championship.
Do you know where Adam Schefter went to college?
Of course I do.
Where?
The University of Michigan.
Oh.
He's a Wolverine.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow,
interesting.
That's crazy.
So we've got this NFL insider for ESPN, and he's letting his personal bias leak into his news-breaking tweets. I think that's disgusting. I think that is sick.
I would agree. Especially as such a big national voice like Adam Schefter. Right?
Yeah, he's
such a big national insider. Whenever you have somebody at that stature, somebody at that level, you want that the reporting to be as unbiased as possible. And I know, everybody's had their, has their favorites. Everybody has their school they went to or whatever, but there's no reason to be, to show that bias, right? Especially when you're just making a simple tweet as Kyler Murray was named the starter.
Yeah.
You know, that's all it had to be. That's all it could be.
And look, if you want to throw background information on J.J. McCarthy, I get it. Look, do I feel bad for the dude that he did miss his entire rookie year because of an injury?
Yes.
You know, it's not like he was beat out by Sam Darnold. No, they brought Sam in to be the backup, and J.J. tore his meniscus in camp, and he did miss the entire year. I feel bad for him that he was in that situation.
Right.
Last year, he was just terrible. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And maybe that is in part to him missing his rookie year. I don't care at that point. You're talking about a second-year quarterback. You got to take the training wheels off at some point. Now going into year 3, Minnesota has to trade for somebody else because this guy that they drafted, 9th overall, is not good enough. That's just, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This roster is good. That's why they won 6 of J.J. McCarthy's 10 starts last year. Sure.
Right. Yeah. I think, him getting injured, it is unfortunate, but last year was incredibly disappointing. And
they made a whole meme about it. The whole 9 guy.
a meme
Don't let
that is
9 out.
Yeah, everybody's talking about how that meme is going to single-handedly end J.J. McCarthy's career, which is it's possible, but
well, dude, he's still just 23 years old.
Just 23, and he was forced.
He was forced to be the backup.
Forced to be a backup. No, even when he got drafted, man, I had my doubts about J.J. McCarthy, and I had my doubts about him being a good NFL quarterback. I think, more so, he had a great talent around him at Michigan.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of showed a little bit in the NFL level that it wasn't, not to bag on the guy who's down already.
Yeah, jeez, Alex, kicking the dude while he's down.
Kicking him while he's down, but,
he's forced to be the backup. Take it easy on him.
We'll see if JJ's ever gets to the level that people want him to be, but I just never bought the McCarthy
Dude,
hype.
he started just 10 games last year.
Just
he won
10 games.
6 of them, bro.
Just 10 games.
He's good.
Sure.
No, another thing that this exploded into was everybody talking about the quote-unquote QB development problem that the NFL has, talking about some of the recent busts in the NFL draft, like J.J. McCarthy and Anthony Richardson and some of these other highly drafted quarterbacks that didn't work. That's such a lazy argument. There have always been busts in the NFL draft.
Right.
I don't think it's necessarily a QB development problem. I think it's more so a fact that, again, there have always been busts. It's impossible to project who's going to be good at the NFL level and who's not going to be. I think it's more so a level of just certain teams like the Vikings. They're drafting a rookie quarterback to a win now team, and that's not a good mix.
Yes.
You shouldn't ever ask your rookie quarterback or second-year quarterback to take you to the playoffs. And sometimes your team naturally, organically grows with the young quarterback, and that happens. That's a different situation. This was a Minnesota Vikings team that has been on the verge of the playoffs or a playoff team the last 5 or 6 years.
Yes.
And they're asking this rookie quarterback to step in and take them back to the playoffs, and that's just not how it works. So, no, I don't think they have a quarterback development problem. I think there's just always going to be crappy rookies.
And more recently, it seems like the rookie quarterbacks have been more so leaning towards that rather than being a Josh Allen or whomever.
Could be, but even, you look at the other first-round picks in that draft. It was, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, and Bo Nix.
Yeah.
3 of your 4 hit. They say in the first round you have a 50% hit rate. You talk about 4 quarterbacks and 3 of them hit, 1 of them doesn't. That's a 75% hit rate. I don't want to hear about it.
Statistically speaking, one of them's going to be a bust, and J.J. McCarthy just happened to be that guy.
Exactly. You're going to have a bust.
Right,
that's just how it works.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I 100%. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I agree 100% with the quarterback development problem that the NFL, people online are clamoring about, but we'll see if JJ's will ever be able to piece it together.
Speaking of Jaden Daniels, this got really weird earlier in the week. An article came out. Jaden Daniels has sent a cease and desist to LSU after they gave their new quarterback.
This is dumb.
Number 5.
This is dumb.
This is ridiculous.
This is so dumb. This is when they came up with technical fouls and they came up with this segment. This is exactly what the type of headline that people had in mind.
He's not even their quarterback. He's their. That's why I was confused. Sam Levitt is the quarterback.
Right.
So they gave Jaden Daniels number 5 to a corner.
Yeah.
And he's upset about it.
Yeah.
So now he's saying, don't ever use my name, image, or likeness to draw publicity or program ever again. And he essentially feels that he has not received the same level of acclaim at LSU that Joe Burrow has received. If that statement is true, which I don't even know or care because I don't follow LSU on a day-to-day basis, if that statement is true,
yep.
Do you blame LSU? What did Jaden Daniels won the Heisman? I get it.
He won the Heisman.
Joe Burrow quarterbacked the
champion.
best college football team we have ever seen,
yes.
Arguably.
Yes. People make the argument.
Arguably.
People make the argument.
There's a big difference there.
Look, I think at the end of the day, the way that I look at this, man, is Joe Burrow not only won the Heisman, but he won you a national championship, and that matters. That was a high-scoring offense. It was one of the best offenses in college football we've ever seen.
So does Jaden Daniels feel upset that he doesn't receive the same level of praise that Joe Burrow does?
I'm assuming that this is what this is about.
That's exactly what this is about.
Yeah,
is that justified?
Which
Hell no.
No, which again, this is why this is so dumb. This is why this is so silly. Not to disrespect Jaden Daniels, because I actually really like him as a quarterback, and I actually think that he's, despite having the injury banged up season that he had last season, I still think that he can be a really fun NFL quarterback. And ultimately, because of the day and age that we live in with the transfer portal, with people moving around all the time, the reality is he spent a season at LSU.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Burrow was only there 2 years, right?
He was only there 2 years, but he still delivered a national championship.
Right.
What did Jalen Daniels do in the year? Win a Heisman? And I don't even remember the record of that season because it wasn't notable. It wasn't anything. Anything remarkable.
No.
And that's kind of the way that I see it. I understand why you want to be remembered the same way that Joe Burrow is. But the reality is, I don't think that in the year that he was there, he earned that same level of I guess respect, if for lack of a better word, because you didn't win a national championship.
Not to say that he was bad at LSU. He was a Heisman winner.
He won a Heisman.
Joe Burrow won a Heisman
and a national championship.
So he is higher.
And quarterbacked one of the best offenses in college football ever.
He's higher on everybody's LSU quarterback Mount Rushmore.
Absolutely.
Except for Jaden Daniels' mom.
Daniels.
Matt Moscona, he is a radio personality in the LSU area. Sources confirm Daniels' camp wants LSU to return its copy of the Heisman Trophy, something that LSU has no intention of doing, of course. Daniels contacted LSU leadership before fall camp, and this has led to actually Lane Kiffin reaching out to Jaden Daniels and tell him to stop being crazy, essentially.
Wow.
But this is weird, dude. And between all of this stuff and how weird he came across, you and I both watched the quarterback show, and how weird he came across, and especially his mom, and kind of how overbearing and involved she seemingly wants to be in everything. This is all a very weird deal that honestly is making me not like Jaden Daniels. And I really liked him coming out of LSU. I wanted the Broncos to draft him. I wanted him to fall to the Denver Broncos because I thought he was a great player. But all of this stuff over the past couple of months that we've seen from him, it's a weird deal. Especially where you haven't done anything at the NFL level to justify this. Like, you made the NFC Championship as a rookie. Cool. You won Offensive Rookie of the Year. On the grand scale of things, that is
minuscule.
Nothing.
Yeah, minuscule. I like that you bring up the quarterback show, because I think even in the quarterback show, like, I didn't get a vibe like that this was his person, like this his character. Like, this is something that
it felt all very PR trained.
Yeah, I and now all of a sudden we're getting this, which is kind of surprising. It's shocking.
Yeah, somebody's got to step in. You see it sometimes with Ace Bailey, for example, had that dude in his camp. He wasn't even his agent. He was his quote-unquote manager, right? Yeah. And he's in Ace Bailey's ear, and you're getting these weird vibes from him. And credit to Ace Bailey, eventually he realized whether somebody else got in his ear or he made the decision to let go of this guy, let go of this manager that was kind of bringing all this negative PR and attention to Ace Bailey. And he realized it would be best for his professional career if he moved on from that. Now, this is a little bit of a different situation where it seems to be Jaden Daniels' mom. You can't really cut out your mom. But that's honestly part of the problem. Like, don't hire your family.
Yes.
Don't hire your family. She's his agent, I believe. Don't hire your family.
Oh, yeah.
Because that makes for some awkward conversations.
I know many horror stories from the soccer world about family members and fathers being agents. So, yes, I would agree. Be careful who you have in your ear.
Well, we'll see where this goes. I'm rooting against Jaden Daniels now.
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, I would.
I wouldn't go that far. I still like the dude.
Hashtag Team Joe Burrow all the way.
I still like the dude. I just think that he's doing something dumb.
Yeah, really dumb. Okay, let's take another break. Coming up next, we will get into some Utah football. Another week of fall camp is in the books for the Utes. We got to hear from some voices early in the week. Coming up next, I want to hear from Bird Ficklin specifically. I want to talk about this Utah offense and kind of some of the balance that they could achieve, and with all the firepower that they have, because frankly, they are returning a lot offensively. So we'll get into Utah football next. Stick with us. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.